Tonight, once again, Frankenstein makes a sandwich. This time, though, we're going to start off with a little fun, go into something a little interesting, and then go into something mind-numbingly boring that you're guaranteed to fall asleep. So, without further ado, and almost no joy, except for a nice poem at the end, get ready for The Lunch Sack of Notre Dame. And Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Henderson, and Zombie, and a hidden poem. The Lunch Sack of Notre Dame. I'm stumped as to why we all lump this poor chump with the rest of the monsters just 'cause of his hump. It's not like he drains all the blood from your veins or sucks out your brains and then eats your remains. I bet when he packs all those brown paper sacks and he takes them for lunch, breakfast, dinner, or brunch, that he'll munch, snack, and chew on the same food as you. Just a hunch. Now what's really interesting about this one is the lunch special has the beginning of a poem that's continued on the next page as sort of an addendum. Big word, addendum. We'll read Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Henderson, then go back to that little sign. The doctor sighed, his tie was tied, he fiddled with his combs, he hated all these dressy balls in crowded halls and homes. He couldn't dance, he found that fancy food just made him choke, and guess would heckle Jekyll if he tried to make a joke. The clock began to chime, the time was 8 and he was late, he'd rather go to bed instead of going out, but wait! The notion of a certain potion filled him with delight. Why stay inside when Mr. Hyde could go out for the night? Sure, Hyde was snide, he always lied, and women cried to see him, and yet it still was such a thrill when Jekyll got to be him. You should see him dance the polka! Fancy folk avoid his feet, as he reels and whirls the girls around the hall and down the street. He laughed and mixed the draught that makes a gentleman a jerk, and thought a lot about the ball, but not about his work. 'Twas his fault, he added salt, instead of crumbled skull. The vial of bile was pickle juice, and dill just made it dull. Alas, the glass of cream of evil, mixed with powdered creep, was really milk the maid had laid aside to help him sleep. He never knew he drank the brew while running out the door, although he thought the beaker tasted weaker than before. He reached the ball and looked in all the mirrors at his head. It wasn't Hyde he spied inside, but Henderson instead. His shoulders stooped, his eyelids drooped, his face looked pooped and wan, and where the hair of Hyde was fried, his hair looked plastered on. What's done is done, sighed Henderson, and went to join the rest. Around the floor he stopped to bore the pants off every guest. He told a stale and endless tale that tested their endurance, topped with pictures of his cat, then sold them all insurance. For Henderson possessed 1/10 the zest that Jekyll had, far less in fact. He lacked the personality of Plaid. The guests professed they needed rest. They had an early morning. They couldn't stay. They edged away. But then, without warning, their way was blocked, their exit locked, with Henderson ahead. Oh, cruel ennui, he held the key, and wearily he said, "You know, the sight of all you people trying to get away has made me mindful of a funny yarn I read the other day, and when I mention yarn, you know, I really mean to say I read a story, not a yarn in any woolly sort of way. Although I think we'd all agree that yarn is thrilling, eh? I'd listen to a yarn about some yarn most any day. Alas, that's not the funny yarn I'm trying to convey. This tale is funny, strange, not funny, ha-ha, by the way. It seems a certain donkey living out in Santa Fe was made to toil the day away by pulling cargo in a dray. A dray's a sort of cart, you know. This one was filled with hay, but that's not really relevant. The thing I want to say is that this donkey in particular looked smart and gay, owing mostly to the fact he wore a polka dot beret. And if any fellow tried to take the donkey's hat away, then the ass, that is, the donkey, would get very cross and neigh. Wait, horses neigh, not donkeys. What I mean to say is bray. He would bray, not neigh, if someone took his polka dot beret. Which reminds me of an anecdote I heard my milkman say. Oh, that was boring. Okay, I'm gonna flip back here. So, I think in a previous video I mentioned Mitchell and Von Fuzz. So Mitchell and Von Fuzz says, it's well known that zombies abstain from any food other than brain. Make a hat from a carrot and constantly wear it, they'll never disturb you again. If invisible men cause complaint, get a squirt gun and fill it with paint, and wherever you go, squirt you to show who's a visible man and who ain't. The following monsters require the swift application of fire: Frankenstein, mummy, ventriloquist's dummy, anyone who says different's a liar. Confidential to D of Kansas, some witches don't melt when they're wet. If you soak them, they just get upset. Try hard not to smirk, or you'll look like a jerk, and will likely deserve what you get. D, huh? Must be Dorothy. Now, my favorite. Zombie. Zoo. Zombie? Zombie. Zombie? Zombie. Samba. Zombie samba. Zombie samba. Zombie mamba. Mamba mambo zombie zoo. Rumba rumba. Zombie samba. Zombie zimbi bambi boo. Zombie biza bombi zamba. Bamba zamba zombie. Bee! 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 Zombie, zombie. Alright. That's enough for tonight. I think we'll check in on the Phantom of the Opera some other time. Good night. Hope I don't lose that.